Hello, this week in our organizing January extravaganza, we are going to work on organizing our Google Drive. So today what I'm going to have you do, well, first of all, I'm going to go over just a few things to be aware of in Google Drive, and then I'm going to have you search through the Untitled documents that you have in your Google Drive. So for this, I'm going to be using our EdTech Google Drive because I have gotten into a terrible habit of not putting anything in a folder, which is fantastic, except for this is a shared Google account. And so people like, Bethany, did you put that in there? And as it turns out, I did not. So I'm going to use this opportunity to organize my own drive. So right now, first thing I want to go over is that when you're in my drive right here, my drive, you have two ways of viewing things. You can view it in these blocks or you can view it in list view. For today, I'm going to have you view everything in the block view. So come up here next to the little eye and you're going to hit grid view. And that's just because it's going to give you a preview of what's going on. You can change it back later if you prefer to have the list view. But for today, what we're going to do, I think it's going to be easier to see the block view. So change it to block grid view up here. The next thing I want to go over, you have in your Google Drive for teachers or anybody who has a Google Classroom, if you open this up by clicking on the arrow, you're going to see that you have a folder titled Classroom. It is very important that you don't do anything with that folder. By default, anything in Google Classroom gets put into this folder. If you try to move it or or organize it, Google gets very angry. Google Classroom becomes very petulant and it will throw things all over in your Google Drive. So, as a rule of thumb, it's a good idea to never, ever, 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 ever touch anything in this Google Classroom folder unless there is a tech coach with you. There are reasons you would go in there, but you really want to have a tech coach with you. Okay, next thing. I'm going to scroll down. Actually, I'm going to close this back up just so it's not crazy. And I'm going to go to Shared With Me. So Shared With Me is a filter that shows anything that has been shared with you. By default, everything in Google Classroom is shared with you. Now, a lot of times teachers don't like this because they feel like they can't organize this. This is true. You cannot organize your Shared With Me folder. So if that stresses you out and gives you anxiety, then your best course of action is to never click on this button, Shared With Me. In fact, I only click on that if I know by chance that somebody has shared with something with me right away, because it'll be the last thing that popped up. So I will only click on this very recently. Think of if I know that something has been shared with me recently. Think of this Shared With Me folder as the closet where you stuff everything and you only open it up to just see what's the very last thing you stuffed in there. The one thing you can do in the Shared With Me filter is that you can add these things to your drive. So let's say I have this document right here. It's about attendance notifications. When I bring that up, I'm going to see this little button right here that says Add Shortcut to Drive. And that's exactly what it's doing. It's adding a shortcut to this document owned by somebody else to my drive, so I can put it where I want it in my drive. You can also do this directly from the document. So if I right click, I can add the shortcut to the drive, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to put it under, I'm going to add the shortcut under my drive there. Okay, so now I've got that. Next is the recent filter. So this is going to show everything that you have been working on recently. I probably use this more than anything because normally what I was working on recently is what I want to go back to. Another really helpful filter is this starred. So much like our starred category in Gmail, the starred is can be a temporary filter for all the things that you need frequently. So these are all the things that I have starred. Some of I need to go through and unstar the ones that I am not working on right now. So to unstar something, I'm going to right click and then remove from starred. Same thing, I'm going to go ahead and remove all of these from the start. Actually, I want to keep that one. So the first thing I'm going to have you do to organize your Google Drive is we're going to go through and find out all of the things that we forgot to label and give a title to, just so we can clean that up. So if you go to your drive, click on My Drive, and if you scroll down, you're going to see all the things that are not in a folder. So all this stuff is stuff that I just put in here and I did not actually put in a folder because I have a terrible habit of doing that, and I'm going to try to get better. All right, so the first thing I'm going to have you do is click up here where it says Search in Drive, and you're going to search Untitled. This is going to bring up all the things that we never put a title on. I'm going to click there. Now, right now, this is showing anything that does not have a title, but I actually want to go through and I want to search this by just me. So I'm only looking at the documents owned by me. So to do that, I'm going to click on this little downward arrow here, and I'm going to search for anyone. And then I'm going to change this to owned by me. So right now it's going to search for any document that is titled Untitled. It has the words Untitled in it. And then I'm going to search for that. It's going to bring up only the untitled stuff that I have. So I don't know where these things came from. Obviously, I'm not sure where these are. And so right now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to clean this up. So I can kind of see the ones that I have, started but never actually finished that I don't need to open up in order to delete. So in order to delete them, I can right click and click remove. It's going to put them into my trash. I'm going to move to the trash. I can also do this quickly by clicking on the very first. So I know I don't need any of this. I don't know what this stuff is. So I'm going to click on this, the very first one, select that. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key until I get to the next one. And it's going to highlight all of those. So I'm going to go through and I'm actually going to do these ones all at the same. So I'm going to click on this one, do these three. Click here and remove. You can also drag them to the trash, but I'm just using the right click. Now, if I know I want to delete this one. I want to keep this one, delete this one, keep this one, delete this one, like either or. You can do that by holding down the Command key on the Mac and the Control key on the PC. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one, hold down the Command key. I'm going to click on the next one that I wanted to delete. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these ones that I do not need because they're obviously things I started and never finished. And I'm going to go ahead and right click and remove those. So this is what you're going to do if you find something that you actually need. So this thing right here is Series 11. Now this has a name. It just happens to have Untitled somewhere in the file. You can go ahead and keep it. If you bring up something that you have decided that you need to keep, well, name it. So I have no idea what this is. This is something left over from Jed, obviously. I do not need that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. But let's say I want to keep this one. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to rename that. And I'm going to rename it Fire Guy. And then at the same time, I can move it if I want to and move it to where I want it, or you can just leave that for later. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about moving and organizing our files. So today, you're simply going to be cleaning up all of the untitled documents in your Google Drive.